Hey everyone! So today we are looking at the new Bard, and I have seen the new Bard because I've got the new Player's Handbook, but I'm under an NDA, so I can't talk about it. But what I can do is talk about things they reveal in this video today. And one of the things everyone's been wondering about is what happened with Magical Secrets, because in the playtest, the last version of the Bard that we saw had a version of Magical Secrets that relied on use of the three spell lists, Arcane, Primal, and Divine, that they introduced in the playtest, and then didn't end up going with in the end. They ended up going back to the old spell list for each class. So the playtest Bard didn't work anymore. So a lot of question as to what they did with that, and of course, I've been waiting to talk about it. Maybe they just went back to what they did in 2014 because that would still work. Maybe they came up with something new. Maybe they found a way to make the Unearthed Arcana version work. We are going to find out today, very likely, and then I'm going to be able to talk about it. We're also going to talk about the College of Dance, Glamour, Lore, and Valor. And we have seen changes in these subclasses since the playtest, so I'm hoping that we talk about that as well. Some of them look very well. First of all, College of Dance is brand new, so brand new subclass being introduced in the Player's Handbook, and then some of these are going to see some significant changes from the 2014 versions, and others are going to look very much the same. So looking forward to talking about that again. Some significant changes from the playtest as well. So this is actually going to be a very interesting video for me. Been waiting to talk about the Bard. I'm pretty happy with where they've landed, and I hope they will discuss all the things I want to talk about. So let's see what they have to say about the Bard.
You don't play favorites, but you do love Bards. Big quality of life improvements for the Bard, for those checking out the new Player's Handbook, right?
The new Bard has sort of the best of the 2014 Bard, as well as some of the best elements of the Unearthed Arcana Bard. That includes a return of the Bard's dedicated spell list. We had several versions that people saw in the Unearthed Arcana series where the Bard didn't have a spell list of their own and instead was leaning into other classes' spell lists. Through that process, we re-embraced the Bard having their own spell list, but as we'll discuss very shortly, Bards, their magical secrets ability got enhanced in important ways.
Yeah, they're going to talk about magical secrets, and I cannot wait.
That Bard spell list that has returned has been beefed up thanks to new spells in this book, as well as us even taking some spells that were already in the Player's Handbook and adding them to the Bard's list. And we've also given Bards the flexibility that our other full spellcasters have gained with their cantrips, in that Bards can now change one of their cantrips every time they level up. When it comes to their signature non-spellcasting ability, Bardic Inspiration, Bards everywhere can rejoice that Bardic Inspiration now will last for up to an hour on the person that has it, rather.
So yeah, the old version, of course, Bardic Inspiration, you can use it a number of times, equal to Charisma modifier. It's a bonus action. You give it to another player. They can expend it after they make a test. A test is the new version or the new wording for an ability check, saving throw, or an attack roll. So any of those three, they're all tests. So you fail a test, you can roll your Bardic Inspiration die, and it maybe changes the result. And that has always been 10 minutes to use it. And if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So you want to use it, well, now you have an hour to use it instead of 10 minutes. Now, there was a version in the playtest early on where the Bard didn't give out inspiration. They would use a reaction to provide inspiration after an ally failed the test, and I actually really liked that one. So I was sorry to see that one go, but I am glad to see the higher duration here.
Than just 10 minutes, and that will make it far easier for people to have a chance to actually use their Bardic Inspiration. Because I know many people have had that experience where the Bard gives the Bardic Inspiration, they forget to use it, and oh my gosh, the 10 minutes have passed.
Yeah.
Now you have a full hour before. Well, before you're almost there and the bard player is reminding you.
Yeah.
Remember, you have bardic inspiration.
Yeah.
That's why I like the reaction version, but because you didn't have to do that, right? But anyway, I'm happy with the hour or the extension to duration.
We also have taken the Bard's expertise feature and made it so you get it sooner. You now get it at level 2. We have revised all of the
It was at level 3.
subclasses and included an entirely brand new one, the College of Dance, but we'll get to subclasses in a minute. We've also made it, because we know how much bards love to use bardic inspiration, we've made it easier for you to get uses of bardic inspiration back in the Font of Inspiration feature by letting you simply burn spell slots to get it back.
Yeah.
Because we've all had that experience, whether we're playing bards or DMing for bards or our friends are playing bards, where sometimes the bard wants more uses of bardic inspiration more than they want to cast more of their spells.
Yeah.
And we saw a similar design with the druid, right? So the druid has their own pool of wild shape, while the bard has their own pool of bardic inspiration. And with both classes, they've given you some ability to kind of mesh your spell slots with that ability so that you can convert spell slots into uses of that ability. So yeah, that is in the bard now as well as the druid.
And so we, recognizing that phenomenon.
And of course, sorcerers have always had that with sorcery points. They've just kind of let it happen across the board.
Whether it is by observing other people's games or just playing bards in our own, that's why we wanted to give bards the flexibility to essentially exchange one of their magical resources for one of their other magical resources. This is similar to what we did in the Druid, where there again is that ability to do some exchanging, really all about making it so that players have even greater control over what their characters do on adventures. Now, we also took a look at the Bard's counter charm ability, and we decided, let's actually make this useful. And so the new counter charm ability is now a reaction that the Bard can use when someone around them is charmed or frightened. It gives them a new roll against that effect, and when they make that new saving throw, they have advantage on it. I think this.
Yeah, so the old counter charm, just to remind you, because you probably have never used it, or if you used it, it didn't work and you forgot about it. But the old version, you would expend your action, and then your allies around you would have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened for 1 round, I believe. Not a resource that you had to keep track of or anything like that. You could use it over and over, but why would you? You're giving up your entire turn for something that may or may not happen. So really didn't like the old counter charm. This new counter charm I really do like. So yeah, you see an ally, or it's you who's failed a frightened check or a charmed check or saving throw, I guess to be precise. And then you can use your reaction. They get to re-roll their saving throw with advantage. That's a really nice benefit. And makes level 7 for Bard feel pretty impactful. It's now like a good feature that the Bard gets, rather than something you write on your character sheet and never use it again.
This is going to make counter charm see far more use than we've seen in the last 10 years. And it helps preserve a little detail that's been a part of the Bard for decades, because Bards having a counter charm ability has been a part of the class going back to the game's earliest days. Now, at level 10, Bards still get magical secrets, and this is now the feature where Bards get to dive into other classes' spell lists, and we've made a couple of important tweaks here. First, the Bard no longer can dive into any spell list in the game. And we made this change for one main reason, and that is outside of the bard, the cleric, the druid, and the wizard, spell lists are highly tailored to a kind of niche identity when it comes to a class like ranger, paladin, artificer, to refer to a class not in the player's handbook. And so we wanted to make sure the bard was only looting the spell lists that are actually designed to be lootable.
Yeah.
That's also why the warlock is not here. The sorcerer is not here. It is really bard, cleric, druid, or wizard. These are the spell lists that we create to not only serve their classes, but also to be eminently lootable. And part of that is that the cleric, druid, and wizard spell lists in particular are the emblematic spell lists for the three main sources of magic. The wizard spell list is the emblematic spell list for arcane magic, the druid list for primal magic, and the cleric list for divine magic. People will see a similar change in the magic initiate feat, which also now does not allow you to dip into any spell list in the game. Instead, it is specifically these iconic spell lists that you can dip into. Now, even though that is a limitation that did not exist before, it is now paired with a greater amount of liberty. Because once now the bard reaches level 10, you may choose any of your prepared spells from these lists. So essentially, once you hit 10, you become, similar to the name of one of your early class features, a true jack of all trades. And so there is that little bit of constriction paired with a massive expansion in terms of versatility for the class. And it used to be that Magical Secrets gave you this versatility, but only at certain later levels. Now you can benefit from it at every level once you've received Magical Secrets.
Perfect.
Next up.
When you get Magical Secrets, you can select spells from your own spell list, the cleric spell list, the druid spell list, or the wizard spell list, and not just once, not just at level 10. This becomes something that you can do for the rest of your career as a bard. So whenever you gain new spells, you can choose from any of those spell lists. That means that, when you get to level 17, you actually have more selection of 9th level spells than any other class in the game with a bard. I kind of love this. So first off, keep in mind that most play is before level 10. And so during that time, you're using the bard spell list alone. It's going to look very similar to the bard spell list in 2014. He says it's been expanded, which it has, but it's still pretty darn close. Once you get to level 10, it's going to open up, but keep in mind, bards have limited numbers of spell preparations, so it's not like they're necessarily going to have the versatility in terms of how many spells prepared as some of these other classes are, but their choice, like the variety of the kinds of spells they can have, that's where you're really going to see a difference for the bard. Now, one other thing I really like is that they've chosen bard, cleric, druid, and wizard spell lists, and they've excluded ranger spell lists, they've excluded paladin spell lists. One of the things that always felt bad about those kinds of classes is that you have these 5th level spells that for them is the apex, right? They don't get 9th level spells, they get 5th level spells, but they have their own list with spells that are just theirs. And now the bard can no longer steal those at level 10, but 7 levels before the ranger and the paladin can access them. So this idea of, the bard being a better paladin than the paladin because they have the higher level paladin spells, or the bard being a better ranger than the ranger because they have the higher level ranger spells, that doesn't happen anymore, or it won't happen anymore, because they can no longer steal those spells as part of Magical Secrets. I think that is great. As for not getting sorcerer spells, I don't think it really matters. I mean, sorcerers have a couple unique spells, but mostly Sorcerers are casting the same spells as wizards. You have access to the wizard spell list, so you're good. As for Warlock, the Warlock spell list isn't that great, but it does mean that bards will no longer be able to take Eldritch Blast as a magical secret, as a magical secret, and he's revealed something else. You're not going to be able to get Eldritch Blast with Magic Initiate anymore either. You want Eldritch Blast, you got to go Warlock. So that's another thing that he has just revealed. That's not just about the bard; it's about everyone. I love this Magical Secrets. Gotta say, looking very forward to playing with it in my games. And this, on top of Counter Charm, on top of getting expertise earlier, on top of longer lasting inspiration, it should be pretty clear. I'm pretty happy with this new bard.
We have the revised version of Superior Inspiration.
Right.
Superior Inspiration used to be at 20th level. It's now moved down to 18th level. And it used to require you to have zeroed out your Bardic Inspiration uses to get any back. That's no longer the case. Now, if you have fewer than 2, you get Bardic Inspiration back when you roll initiative until you have 2. So what that means is if you have 0 and you're...
And it technically improved, so it's the capstone. It's been moved to level 18. It has technically been improved, but I'm glad it's not the capstone anymore. Because the bards had a lousy capstone, and this is still not great at level 18. I don't really care. At level 17, as a bard, I got 9th level spells, accessing the wizard, druid, or cleric, or bard spell lists. So I am doing just fine without a significant improvement to my regaining of inspiration.
You roll initiative, you will now have 2. If you have 1, you will now have 2.
Yeah.
So that gives you some more flexibility. It also makes this feature useful in more cases, so you will not feel the pressure to completely zero out your Bardic Inspiration uses to be able to benefit from this. And then we have a brand new feature at level 20 for bards called Words of Creation. What this means is now all bards will always have prepared when they reach 20th level Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill. A big part of the bard story is that they draw their magic from the words of creation that were uttered before time began to bring the multiverse into being, and that their magic harnesses these words in various ways, and that these words are often represented by spells like Power Word Heal or Power Word Kill. So we thought, let's make it so bards always have, when they reach their ultimate level, always have these spells prepared. And in addition, when a bard casts either of these spells at 20th level, they can target not just the one target the spell normally targets, they can target a second target as well.
Okay, so that's the feature. So you always have Power Word Heal, you always have Power Word Kill prepared. Whenever you cast them, you can target a second creature. Now, this sounds really good, right? You're twinning a 9th level spell. But I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking, I have Magical Secrets, which allows me to, access any 9th level spell in the game. And I gotta tell you that if I can access pretty much any 9th level spell in the game, in fact, it might be every 9th level spell in the game. I'd have to double check what's on, if there's anything the Warlock gets or Sorcerer gets, but I don't think so. I think they're going to have access to every 9th level spell in the game. And Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill would not be my choices, right? Now I'm going to prepare them automatically. But if I can get a second creature with them, I'm only going to have one 9th level slot. I might cast them, right? And I would be able to do something that the party wizard or the party cleric cannot do. So I like this feature. I thought it was more powerful, but the more I think about it, the more I think there's a lot of good 9th level spells in the game. Like, is Power Word Heal against 2 targets better than Mass Heal? In some situations it will be, but in a lot of situations it won't be. Again, we're talking about a nice variety of spells that the bard is going to have, because he's not only going to have Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill, but he'll likely have other 9th level spells as well. That could be any 9th level spell. So great variety. But in terms, like, doesn't have meta magic, doesn't have spell mastery, so doesn't have expanded spell lists. So we are, there's some benefits to being a bard as a spellcaster and some drawbacks to being a bard as a spellcaster, which is great. They are still going to have their own unique identity. So yeah, I'm very happy with what they ended up with the bard. So I expect they'll start with College of Dance. Let's find out.
That means the 20th level bard can Power Word Kill 2 creatures at once, but also Power Word Heal 2 friends at once.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Starting off with subclasses, it's a big deal. We've got a new bard subclass, the College of Dance.
Yes, and the College of Dance, this is a subclass we've wanted to introduce for a long time. Just because it's fun to have the dancing bard, but also this leans into an element that the bard's story text touches on in the new player's handbook, and that is the bard's magic, and even the magic that taps into the words of creation. Those words are not necessarily verbal. That communication could be by sign, it can be by dance. There are many ways that communication is accomplished in our world, and so we wanted that to be reflected in the bard as well. And so the College of Dance is...
Speaking of which, Ginny D did a reveal video for College of Dance, so you can actually go to there and you can actually see a lot of the pages on the screen. But I just want to shout out the video because it is so funny. And she actually does kind of a deep dive into the idea of, bards being limited to musical performance when there's so many other kinds of performance, has been, and although it's only been thematic, you've always had the ability to use other kinds of performance with the bard, but it steers you in the direction of music. College of Dance clearly steers you in the direction of a different kind of performance, so it just kind of opens up thematic imagination especially for new players who maybe haven't experimented trying bards that aren't always musical bards. Thematically, I love the idea of bringing in bard subclasses that are something other than playing an instrument and singing.
All about not only this bard dancing, but also maybe even sometimes succeeding at getting their friends to dance with them. And that's particularly true in one of their later features. But starting right away in this new subclass, we have a feature called Dazzling Footwork. And this feature is really a package of multiple features that makes your performances better if they involve dancing. It gives you an unarmored armor class because we want a dancing bard to be able to, if they want to be dressed like a dancer, but still have a decent AC. We've also made it so that this bard, whenever they use a bonus action to confer bardic inspiration, can also make an unarmed strike. And remember, unarmed strikes aren't necessarily punches. They could be kicks or whatever else a dancer would be doing as they are.
And unarmed strikes can also be shoves and grapples.
Are leaping across the battlefield.
There are options within having an unarmed strike now that are more than just doing damage. You can push people around. You can...
Absolutely. The new unarmed strike is a package that includes 3 options: deal damage, grapple, or shove. This actually then combos with some of their later abilities, which I'll get into soon. Also, their unarmed strike deals more damage than a typical unarmed strike, because the typical unarmed strike, unless you're a monk or some other character who has an enhanced unarmed strike, typically on a hit just deals 1 damage plus your strength modifier. Not true for the College of Dance bard, who, if you decide to deal damage with your unarmed strike, you deal bludgeoning damage equal to a roll of your bardic inspiration die.
Oh, wow.
plus your dexterity modifier. And this roll of your Bardic Inspiration die does not expend your Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah.
So now this bard gets to use their Bardic Inspiration die also as a damage die for the damage that they're dealing with their very vigorous dancing.
Amazing.
Then at level 6, this is when...
Okay, so Dazzling Footwork. And we saw this in the playtest, and the things I noted were sometimes with a bard, what you want to do is get that medium armor proficiency and shield proficiency, whether you do it through multi-classing or you do it through a feat, because it really boosts up your armor class. If you're playing a College of Dance bard, you're not going to be able to do that, or if you want to use Dazzling Footwork. But you are going to get an enhanced armor class otherwise. I don't know if that's better than medium armor and shield. It'll be probably a little bit less. Maybe as good as armor no shield. And then you can make unarmed strikes. Of course, unarmed strikes require you get in close. That's not always what you want to do with your caster who might be concentrating on something. And then we have for Dex for unarmed strikes and Bardic Inspiration die for damage die. And that makes them about as good as a monk at punching. Except the monk, of course, can also use their dexterity for grapples and shoves. Notice Jeremy Crawford didn't say anything about that for College of Dance, so I don't think they're going to be competing with the monk for unarmed strikes either. There was some speculation when the College of Dance first came out that this is going to be better at melee combat and unarmed combat than monks. But if you saw the new monk earlier this week, you know there's no way this College of Dance is going to be comparing to the monk with unarmed strikes. So Dazzling Footwork, I think it's thematic, and I think it's okay. I'm not likely going to be salivating to play a dance bard to access that.
You become very capable at trying to get your friends in on the dance, and maybe you can have your whole party do a exciting flash mob inside battle. This ability is the one where whenever an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you, you can take a reaction, expend a use of your Bardic Inspiration to move up to half your speed, and then an ally of yours can also try to do the same thing. None of this movement provokes opportunity attacks. And remember, the earlier level feature is whenever you expend Bardic Inspiration, whether as a part of a bonus action, or reaction, you can also make an unarmed strike. So that means someone comes up close to you, you use this ability, you're not only getting to move without provoking opportunity attacks, but you also get a free unarmed strike as part of the bargain. This is very energetic dancing.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So he's pretty much explained the feature. And I do think it's cool. I think it's cool that you can use your reaction and pow, or probably a kick, because you're dancing, right? So kick, Michael Flatley style, and then dance off with your buddy. I think that's great. I will note that feature was level 3 in the playtest. It is now level 6, so it has been pushed back.
Also, and then this is where we really, at the same level, start unlocking the ability to really help your friends get in on the action, is the new tandem footwork feature. Whenever you roll initiative, you can expend 1 use of your Bardic Inspiration and roll it, and then you and your allies get to add that as a bonus to your initiative. So this allows your group to leap into action potentially far sooner than they normally would in a battle.
And so tandem footwork, like he said, you can spend an inspiration, you roll it when you're doing initiative, and everybody in your party gets that as a bonus to initiative. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the most powerful feature that the College of Dance gets, and is very tasty. The thing I will note is rolling initiative is not an action, bonus action, or reaction. It's none of those things. So you will not get an unarmed strike with that expenditure of Bardic Inspiration. In fact, that's pretty much going to be the only time you're going to expand Bardic Inspiration and not get an unarmed strike. But well worth it. Well, I mean, that's a big bonus to initiative that you can get with College of Dance.
Finally, the subclass with their level 14 feature, they get the evasion ability that rogues have as well as monks, but they can share it. The College of Dance Bard, because dancing is often about dancing with someone else, if you can imagine the sort of situation we often had in mind with this is the enemy spellcaster casts Fireball, and you and your buddy are within the blast. As long as you're near each other, you're not only going to benefit from your evasion ability, but you can confer it to the friend next to you as well.
That's amazing.
So this subclass has high mobility.
Speed.
All right, so that's the subclass, and so I should summarize what he finished up with. Leading Evasion was a level 6 feature in the playtest. Now it's level 14. And there was a lot of concern because, I mean, you think of evasion and you think of rogues and monks. That's a big feature that both those classes get. And now you're going to have a bard get it earlier than them and be able to share it with an ally, so better than them and earlier than them, didn't seem fair, right? So they have pushed it. But unfortunately, there's no subclass features between 6 and 14 for bard. So it goes all the way to level 14. And there was a feature called Irresistible Dance in the playtest that Dance Bards got, where they could cast Otto's Irresistible Dance without a spell slot. And that's gone. So Leading Evasion has now bumped that off. So the College of Dance has been scaled back from the playtest. We see a level 3 feature moving to level 6. We see a level 6 feature moving to level 14. And we see a level 14 feature has been removed. Is it still a good subclass? Well, you can add initiative to everyone in your party with a Bardic Inspiration die. I think it's still a decent subclass. Inspiring Movement is cool and I think okay. Generally, I think their level 3 feature is... They're level 6. They get 2 features. They're both pretty solid. So I think at level 6 they're pretty good. And so... Then, of course, there's nothing subclass related until level 14. Evasion's coming on very late. But anyway, I think it's okay. I think the College of Dance is okay, and I really appreciate them going in the direction of... And I got to be honest, the idea of College of Dance, personally, was never a big draw for me. I love the idea of going into types of performance that aren't musical, and I'm hoping we'll see more subclasses, and I suspect we will see more Bard subclasses in the future that go into different kinds of performance that aren't necessarily musical. Something like, I'd love to see like an acrobat or a jester or that kind of thing, and we might see those things in the future. So a College of Dance is opening a door that I think leads us in a good direction.
Speed, and also some really great interaction with their party mates.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next subclass is also new to the player's handbook,
right,
but not new to the game. So the College of Glamour first appeared in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and not only has migrated into the player's handbook, but also has actually quite a few updates to it. The new Beguiling Magic feature that you get at level 3, this actually completely replaces the enthralling performance feature that the subclass used to have. This now makes it...
And I should probably bring up the enthralling performance feature that the subclass used to have. So let me just bring it up for you. Just give me a moment here. There it is. All right, gonna bring it over. There it is. If you perform for at least 1 minute, you can attempt to inspire wonder in your audience by singing, reciting a poem, or dancing. At the end of the performance, choose a number of humanoids within 60 feet of you. Watch and listen to all of it, up to a number equal to your charisma modifier. Each must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you. While charmed this way, it idolizes you, speaks glowingly of you to anyone who talks to it. It hinders anyone who opposes you, blah, 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 for an hour. If it or if it takes damage, or if you attack it, or if it witnesses you attacking or damaging any of its allies. If the target succeeds on its saving throw, it has no hint that you tried to charm it. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. This is a flavorful feature, but I gotta say it's not one I saw used very often. It kind of, it requires very circumstantial events to even have an opportunity to use this. So I was good with them switching it, and I do like what they switched it with.
So that you always have the Charm Person and Mirror Image spells prepared. And from now on, whenever you cast an enchantment or an illusion spell, you can choose somebody and try to charm them or frighten them. You can do this a limited number of times per day. We did this because we really wanted to enhance our original vision for this subclass, and that is being the preeminent beguiling bard subclass. That, this is the pop star bard who has so much presence and also fey magic that people are just bedazzled by this bard. And so that's why we've introduced this new play option with beguiling magic. We also
beguiling magic. So you're going to get 2 additional preps, Charm Person and Mirror Image. And then whenever you cast an enchantment or illusion spell using a spell slot, if you look at the bard spell list, it's filled with enchantment and illusion. So there's a really good chance you're going to have enchantment and illusion spells prepared, including Charm Person and Mirror Image. So you can use this feature. He said it's limited in use, and it is very limited in use. So it's not something you're going to be doing all the time. But I like it. I think it fits the Glamour Bard as far as I'm concerned. I think that's a good change for enthralling performance. But I will say this isn't a super powerful ability. Don't be mistaken that this is something you're going to be doing all the time.
The Mantle of Inspiration have increased the amount of temporary hit points that this feature provides. And then in the Mantle of Majesty, we have made it so that you always now have the command spell prepared, which this feature relies on. And we've also now given you the ability to restore your use of this feature by expending a level 3 or higher spell slot. This is something that we've done in a number of the features in the book that we didn't do 10 years ago in the 2014 Player's Handbook, and that is giving our spellcasting classes in their subclasses sometimes this ability to burn spell slots to get their feature back. And this was a sort of design shtick that we began experimenting with a number of years ago in products like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And we've seen people have really enjoyed having that option, and so that's why we've now included it here.
Perfect.
So Mantle of Inspiration, very much the same as it was, which is good. Good feature. And then Mantle of Majesty, similar to what we saw in Xanathar's, but there's been, like you said, little enhancements where you can, regain the use of it with spell slots and such, and it's a good feature. And it is something I think that I'm glad that they kept that in as well. So just one more feature to go.
Then finally, in the subclasses Unbreakable Majesty, I mean, just even the name of it. When a creature hits you with an attack for the first time on the turn, the creature must succeed on a charisma save or the attack misses. This replaces the feature's original function, which was potentially causing the attacker to have to target somebody else.
Right.
This turns it into more sort of a direct interaction between the attacker and the bard, where the bard can just be like, I'm too glorious for you to harm me. Do you really want to attack the bard pop star?
Nice.
So we have the College of Lore and...
Yeah, okay, so that's College of Glamour. I'd say yeah, no, I was just thinking something that's wrong. I'd say that I'm pretty happy with the College of Glamour. They took a feature that I never used, and they're going to replace it with a feature that I am going to use. They've given me a little bit more flexibility with the level 6 feature, which I like. The level 14 feature, I mean, technically, it's been scaled down because you can't have them attack somebody else, but I think that's so minor that I don't care. So I think College of Glamour is in a good spot. And if you enjoy playing College of Glamour, it's not going to be all that much different than it was. So I think you'll still enjoy it.
The College of Valor, the two returning subclasses from 2014, because let us not forget that in 2014, the Bard had only 2 subclasses.
Yeah.
So the Bard's number of subclasses has doubled in the new Player's Handbook, and College of Lore and College of Valor are returning subclasses. College of Lore is in many ways, the classic Bard.
Yeah.
This is the Bard that is all about gathering stories.
Yeah, when I paused before with College of Glamour, what I was going to say was College of Glamour is maybe the subclass that got changed the least, but that was wrong. College of Lore is the subclass that got changed the least, for sure. If you like the College of Lore, you're still going to like the College of Lore.
And magic and historical information and using that to their and their friends' advantage, whereas the College of Valor is very much the warrior bard, the bard singing on the battlefield, and some cultures have called this type of bard like a skald.
Yeah.
This is the bard who is inspiring the troops in many fantasy stories. But in the College of Lore, we have revised a number of things. So for example, the magical discoveries ability now functions a bit more like Magical Secrets does. It's specific to the cleric, druid, and wizard spell list. But you can then replace those when you level up as a bard. So you have more flex.
Yeah, so these are tweaks, right? So when you reach level 6, you get your magical discoveries. You can select spells from, before it used to be any spell list, right? Any spell in the game. Now it's cleric, druid, or wizard. And most of the time, bards were looking at wizard with College of Lore anyway, so I don't think that's a significant nerf. And then he's saying that when you replace those spells, you can replace them with cleric, druid, or wizard spells, and that's an improvement, because in the old version, if you ever replaced them, you had to go back to replacing them with a bard spell. But again, I didn't see that happen all that often. So I don't think it's a big change to this feature, just some tweaks. And College of Lore is that. There's some tweaks in there, but it's very, very similar to what you have in 2014.
Flexibility. You're not only getting to dip into these other classes' spell lists, but then you can swap them out as you level up if you decide that wizard spell you selected was not turning out to be as fun as you thought it would be, and you're looking over at that cleric or druid spell you'd rather have. You have increased flexibility here as a College of Lore bard. So also, cutting words, which is this bard's iconic feature, has been enhanced in a subtle but important way, and that is it now works even on creatures who are immune to the charmed condition.
Oh, nasty. Okay.
And so,
how many of you remember? Because when what I did when I got the new Player's Handbook is I would go through each feature and I would compare it side by side, new version, old version, what's the difference? New version, old version, what's the difference? And write notes. And my notes are right here, which is why I always look at them. And I've written down they could still be affected if there's one thing he hasn't mentioned, and if they're immune to being charmed. And the funny thing is I couldn't have told you before I did that comparison that the old version didn't work on somebody immune to being charmed. I've totally forgotten that detail. So it is fairly subtle.
Used to be, particularly at higher levels, you would have that wah-wah feeling as a lore bard where you're trying to use your cutting words and it happened to be a creature that was immune to being charmed. you now don't have to worry about that.
Fantastic.
Because it really turns out, no matter what kind of creature you are, who really wants to be cut down by that sassy bard?
That's fair.
Those words cut no matter what you are.
Yeah.
We also, in the Peerless Skill feature, have made an important improvement here. If you use your Bardic Inspiration using this feature to try to turn a failed ability or attack roll into a success, if you do not succeed at turning it into a success, your use of the Bardic Inspiration is not expended.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and we've seen similar mechanics in other Bard subclasses like Eloquence, where if you expend a Bardic Inspiration die and you are not successfully turning a failure into a success, you don't expend it. So that's been added to Peerless Skill as well. I don't see lower bards using Peerless Skill all that often. How many attack rolls are 14th level lower bards making? Not that many usually. We might see more since you can access some spells that might turn you into an attack machine. But usually, like you're kind of the party mage as a lower bard. So I don't see a lot of attack rolls, and then ability checks, and you might use it for that, but it's not that going to be that often. I mean, quite often what you're doing is you're giving out your inspiration, and then people use it for saving throws quite often. Or you're using it for cutting words. So I don't see Peerless Skill come up very often. So it's been tweaked and enhanced a little bit, but I don't see it making a big difference.
This is now a feature that only gets expended if it succeeds at doing its job.
Perfect.
And we did this so that the lore bard would feel more bold about using the feature, because features like this, if they get expended even if they do nothing, can be frustrating, and it can be very easy for a player who especially really likes shepherding their character's resources.
Yeah, you start hoarding your resources and never using it out of fear.
Exactly. And we all know that if you have an ability that you're always saving and so you never use it, you basically don't have that ability.
Yeah.
and so we want people to feel emboldened to use their class features.
Perfect. All right, that brings us to a very popular subclass.
All right, so we're going on to College of Valor. This one is way different from the playtest, different in very important ways. And I gotta say, the playtest version didn't excite me that much. I'm far more excited by the version they ended up with.
The College of Valor.
So the College of Valor has a major update hiding inside its extra attack feature.
Okay.
And this is the main change here, because College of Valor, super solid in 2014.
Yeah.
And what people are going to see here is largely what they saw in 2014. But a big exception to that statement, and that is, in the extra attack feature, we have made it so that you can cast one of your cantrips in place of one of your extra attacks.
So it's Bladesinger attack, and we saw it with its Eldritch Knight attack, and its Valor Bard attack. So the same mechanic that we saw with Eldritch Knights, we now see with a College of Valor. And it's a good feature because we've been playing Bladesingers for years, so we already know it's a good feature. So, of course, with the fighter, you're going to get extra attack along with the cantrip use, and College of Valor will never get that. However, it's enough of an enhancement that now I was a little disappointed to see that College of Swords wasn't coming across. This feature is good enough that I think College of Valor maybe just ate College of Swords and spat it out because Bladesinger extra attack is very, very nice. College of Valor now has the Bladesinger extra attack. There are minor tweaks in addition to that, but nothing you're going to care about.
So it used to be that you got extra attack, which is awesome. But what we wanted is to give you the flexibility to, through the use of that extra attack, speak to either side of your identity as a Valor Bard, whether it's your weapon use or your spell casting. And so now, similar to what you see in the Eldritch Knight, you can mix it up with your extra attack, and if you want, use a cantrip in place of one of those attacks. And so that will give you a lot more tactical versatility than you had before.
And again, speaks again to that wish fulfillment. If you were playing this type of bard, you want to be mixing magic and sword and sorcery.
And along that same theme, the other change worth noting inside the College of Valor is that they can now use simple and martial weapons as spell casting focuses for their bard spells. So
now when I mentioned tweaks, that's the tweak. If you are holding a shield and you're holding a weapon, it might have prevented you from casting some spells, but if your weapon is your spell casting focus, that might open up spells. There's a tweak there that is to the benefit of the Valor Bard as well, though I think that one is pretty small. The big one is the extra attack.
What that now means is they don't have to worry about what's in their hands or not, because they can channel their magic through their weapons themselves, which is why in the art for this subclass we show this bard with a shield and a blade, and given how this subclass works, this bard can cast their spell through the blade that they're wielding.
When you pre-order the digital physical...
And that is the bard. So significant enhancements to the base class. We now know what Magical Secrets does. One of the annoying things it used to do, it can no longer do, but it was enhanced significantly. So I don't think the bard is going to miss being able to steal the Ranger and the Paladin's Thunder. College of Dance, I think, landed okay. The original version was maybe too powerful. It's okay. I'm not super excited by College of Dance like I am with the other subclasses, to be honest. College of Glamour kind of excites me now because I've been thinking about how to optimize College of Glamour, and there's some good ways to do it under these new rules. And College of Lore is basically the College of Lore that you've always enjoyed. So if you were a College of Lore boy, yeah, you still can be one, and you won't notice a lot of change to the subclass, just the big changes to the main class. But the College of Valor has changed. The College of Valor didn't have a whole lot of incentive to give up their full spellcasting to pick up a shield and a weapon and run into melee, but far more incentive now. So I am quite happy with the Bard. I'm quite happy, and this is the last class, and I've got to say I'm quite happy with pretty much all the classes. The one I'm maybe least happy with, to be honest, is the Wizard, and not that they screwed up the Wizard. They obviously knew the Wizard was popular, and so they were very careful not to screw it up. So we pretty much have the same Wizard with just minor tweaks. And I guess that's why it doesn't excite me as much, because it is closer to what we used to have, so it's not going to feel as new to me, except for the Illusionist subclass. But Warlock looks so different. Sorcerer, significant enhancements. Rogue is very different. I do think Rogue is probably the new weakest class in the game. That's my personal opinion. Ranger, wow, people sure hate on the Ranger these days. And just because you have the option of casting Hunter's Mark with a throwaway first level feature, well, I don't want to cast Hunter's Mark. Well, then don't cast. I don't get it. You want to cast Conjure Animals? Cast Conjure Animals. It's fun. The new version is great. The fact that you're not using your first level feature in that combat is not a big deal. Just use it for some other combat, or don't use it. It's not a big deal. It's a first level feature. I don't understand why people are so obsessed about having the option to cast something that they don't have to cast as a first level, not even the best first level feature the Ranger gets. But anyway, I don't understand. Maybe you can explain it to me in the comments. Paladin, of course, had a nerf to Divine Smite, but it's still really good. And if any of the weapon using classes needed some rebalancing, it was maybe the Paladin, and they got lots of other stuff. So I think the Paladin did just fine. Monk, I am thrilled with. Fighter, I'm thrilled with. The Druid, I'm going to have to see Circle of the Moon and play to develop, because it's so different than it was. But man, Circle of the Sea, Circle of the Land, they look great. Cleric, the level 10 feature, I think you need to have a conversation with your DM if you're going to use it in some kind of potentially game-breaking way. And make sure it's okay with them, and make sure it's okay with the other players, because it can have some pretty dramatic impact if you use it that way. And Bard, obviously, I was happy with it. And Barbarian, I'm thrilled with it. And I'm excited to play my first Path of the World Tree Barbarian. So overall, wow, I think they did a great job with classes and subclasses in the new Player's Handbook. And so I'm hoping they will start talking about maybe feats next week. I'm not sure what they're going to do next week. I know tomorrow they are going to be talking about dragon design. I will not be posting a reaction to that because I've got nothing to say. There's nothing about dragon design in the new Player's Handbook. So they're obviously talking about monster manual stuff. And so I'm not going to have any special insight for you. I will likely watch it. I might say hello in chat, but don't wait for my video response because there's not going to be one. But there are going to be videos next week. Todd Kendrick was in chat today, said there are going to be videos next week. So as long as it's something to do with content in the Player's Handbook, I will likely do a response as long as I do more than a 5-minute video. In which case, if you see that, you probably know I will be doing a response. So I will talk to you then. For now, I've got to get this video ready to get it up to you ASAP. So talk to you soon.